Just a quick couple of thoughts here. Was reading through the news as I choose to do, and I see that the Austrian chancellor resigns after coalition talks collapse. And I just can't help but think, how many other European nations has this been? Be sure to hit that like and subscribe, and I'm just going to kind of get into this a little bit. I'll bring up a map here. Germany, their government has collapsed. France, their government has collapsed. Austria, their government has collapsed. Poland is already far to the right of any of those other nations. It seems that we've got a definitive turn in the politics of Europe. I think a lot of Europeans are tired, sick and tired. One of being blamed for the world's problems simply because you are European. We can relate over here across the pond. Getting a little tired of being blamed for everything, just because of a certain way. Two, they're tired of the immigration. They're sick and tired of all the immigration. You can't have such a diametrically opposed culture as opposed to the culture that they're arriving into. They are diametrically opposed. Diametrically opposed. The Germans are already talking about now deporting a number of Syrians. That's just going to increase. The entire thing is going to increase. You're going to have deportations start in all of these European countries. Austria, Germany, France. Poland I don't think has any in there. But Romania is already considered like a friend of Trump, a right-wing government as far as Europe is concerned. This is a trend. This is clearly a trend. This isn't an aberration. This is a trend. You see Europe clearly leaning to the right side of the aisle in comparison to their usual politics. It's like socialism light with a sprinkle of nationalism. What it means for the European Union, only time will tell. Only time will tell, because these are in each one of these is a culture. Excuse me, had a Royce-like gas attack. Each one of these is a culture unto themselves. That's the difference between the United States and Europe, is that Europe is a conglomeration of different cultures, as where the United States, a bunch of cultures had to come in and conglomerate and create their own culture, unlike some of the new immigrants that have been coming in who just don't want to assimilate, which is a huge problem. Europe is on a different course. Europe is on a different course. As I look at the map right now, France, Germany, Austria, Poland, Italy, this is going to form one giant, I don't want to say right wing, I hate that term. I will say common sense. They're going to form a more common sense bloc. And the best thing they could do is start those deportations. And we're soon going to see the government collapse in the United Kingdom. Plus, we've seen the government collapse now in Canada, with Trudeau possibly announcing his resignation as early as this upcoming week. That's one of the rumors coming out of Canada right now, is that Trudeau is possibly going to resign within the next week. You have the UK government at the popularity level of that of used fecal matter. The parliament has already been dissolved in France. The German government with Scholz has been dissolved because the coalition can't hold together. Now the same thing in Austria. Italy has already turned to, I forget the Italian prime minister's name, but she's been a stalwart. She's already stopped a lot of immigration, and I'm sure she's going to turn to deportation. It seems that the world is turning almost pre-World War I. It's almost like the 20th century was growing pains on a global level. And we seem to be slowly returning to a post-Franco-Prussian War, pre-World War I Europe of many, many different states, each with their own ideas. But the difference this time is the European Union. And as the power of the European Union slowly wanes, and it is waning, and whether it survives as a union or not remains to be seen. I actually have my doubts. I'm not sure that it can survive. As we see what happens, and these states grow more and more independent and flex more and more of their own muscle, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here. Because clearly their cry for independence from their people and their culture, more their culture than their individuals. We're dealing with a cultural cry for recognition and help. The French culture is being buried by an Algerian and a Syrian culture. The German culture is being weighed down by the same. And culturally, these are very proud people. Very proud people. The Italians have already taken their steps. The Polish, they don't even let them in. Same with the Romanians. If you're in Eastern Europe, you're not even letting them in. So Western Europe has a problem. And deportation is going to be the only answer. It's going to be interesting to see what the United Kingdom does. It really will, because they have... there's so many cities in there in the United Kingdom and Ireland where Muhammad is the number one birth name. This is going to be very interesting. It could be very tragic as well. Because as we know, Europe has a history. And they don't react well to cultural differences, we'll say. Because you can't blame one country for the crimes of the past. A lot of people were involved. A lot of people from many different places. So we'll see what happens in Europe. It seems to be a turn to the right. Mass deportations. Very likely we're going to see violence, because you do have so many people there that enclaves are going to be... You're just not going to be able to go there. You're not going to be able to deport all those people. There just would be too much mass violence, not unless you're willing to bring in some form of armed forces. It could get really bad. And in Canada, seeing Trudeau go is always a good thing. That makes me very happy. It'll be great to have our northern neighbor back with some common sense. We're looking forward to having you back, Canada. No, the Trumpster doesn't really want you to be the 51st state, but he also doesn't want you to be taxing the heck out of all this oil and gas. Let's have some common sense. Let's work together. Europe, let's work together. The most pressing thing right now for our relationship with Europe is clearly Russia. Can a conglomeration of nations work as well as the European Union? Could, if the European Union functioned at all, which it doesn't. Well, we're about to find out. We have been finding out with Germany, UK, and France giving independent aid and everything. But, yeah, a turn to the right. I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Culturally, you should be proud of who you are. And after all, the indigenous people of Europe have a right to their own land, don't they? That's what we're told, is that the indigenous people should have those rights. Well, in this case, the indigenous folks are white. That's all I got. I do appreciate you swinging in. Thank you very much.